let's talk about the companies and maybe the most pressing problems today that companies in the utilities and the oil and gas industry face today. What would you say?
Well, there are a number of problems. Everybody hates them. That's the first problem. And second of all, they, like many companies, are too obsessed with cash and finance. And third of all, they could get rid of those problems if they were more serious about innovation, particularly the upside of carbon. What's good about carbon? You want a zero carbon world, that means no more you, because you're 18% carbon. So we don't want a zero carbon world because no more us. So already we can see it's doing wonderful things. We just have to have a more creative and more productive appreciation of its possibilities.
Okay, talking about innovation, what kind of innovation are you thinking of? Can you give a couple of examples?
Well, pretty much every kind. It can't all be a massive breakthrough, but it can't all be Kaizen incrementalism either. The thing to watch out for is getting too interested in business models, or business models, as I like to call them, which are broadly different ways of taking money off people. It's all right. Hire purchase, rent it, pay as you go, all of those things. Are they real innovation? They're financial innovation, but they're not technological innovation. And the merit of technology, nothing in itself, but can it make our lives easier, more convenient, less work, more fun? That's a bit different from innovating a business model or doing some financial engineering.
Why don't these companies invest enough into innovation?
Well, because they're scared, because they'd rather earn 0% interest in the bank than see a project in the labs fail. But we've got to fail. We've got to go through those setbacks. And we've got to be adventurous. Einstein supposedly said, if we knew what we were doing, it wouldn't be called research. So we've got to do more of, we're not sure what we're doing, but we're going to do it because it's there, because we're curious, because animals don't do this. We do it. We have insights.
And which role can IT play in all of that?
Well, I think, one of the problems is, I try to touch on it, is that I'm afraid our Silicon Valley friends have turned innovation into IT, and it's not the whole deal. Right? If we're serious about the Internet of Things, then all of our Internet experts have got to get into things. Why they need to know more about carbon, to track it, to sense it, to know what to do with it. So IT is part of the solution, but it's not the whole solution. And it's time for software people to know more about the geological world, the hydrological world, gases, chemistry, physics. It can't all be done by software. No disrespect to SAP, but I'm sure they would be the first to say that.
How can SAP help in this?
Well, they helped me make the speech, and that's already a big advance. I think they're a pleasure to deal with. They're very polite and charming. That means something in business. And I think, more importantly, they're the ones who reminded me that you can do the sensing, but it's the interpretation, the people you've got at the other end, and the actions that follow from that. So I didn't know that all of your software could, like Simon, the first presenter, showed, can order a new drill head for you, or order a repair, tell you how much each would cost, tell you where the labor is for that. It's pretty amazing what they're doing. I want to get that clip, start showing it myself. So a good client for a speech is one that you want to show their work the next time you give a speech. SAP makes that grade.
You talked about the Internet of Things. Maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit. You said the people need to get closer to the things and really understand them. Can you explain that a little better?
Well, if you take kids who've been brought up on this rather bad Silicon Valley flattery, for them the world is largely virtual. It's all about social media and so on. And there's much merit in that, and no doubt we've got things to learn from them. What they have to learn from us is that the world isn't virtual, that reality is a lot tougher than a tough software program.
With the increasing demand of energy worldwide, how will we ever be able to solve that problem of global warming and all the other related things?
Well, first of all, you're right to say there's increasing demand, right? People look at Europe and they say, well, look, demand's leveled off. It has leveled off, but given what we've been through, it'd be very surprising if it didn't. So the first thing is to recognize that demand is not going to go away, even in Germany, let alone in India and China or Indonesia just starting up. The second thing is to say that we made global warming. You know, it's a problem, but we didn't do it on purpose. There's no moral guilt that attaches to you, right? We did it by mistake, and thank God we did it, because if it was the sun warming us, there's nothing we can do. But if we did it, then we can undo it. And how do we undo it? By an industrial approach to dealing with waste and heat and CO2 and all of these things. So that's the other thing we need to do, is go for the low carbon sources and recognize also that one carbon-based source can work with a low carbon source. So you'll find that there's plenty of work to be done using oil and gas to supplement and work with wind power and many other things. You're also finding the technologies are similar. For geothermal, low carbon, you'll need the same technologies, drilling and sensing and all the rest, that you do for fracking. So in some senses, the discussion on sources is less important than every source moving ahead with innovation. Usually it's, you're a wind man, I'm a nuclear man. Bit boring. You know, wind and nuclear can work together. They're going to be using SAP. There's economies of scale there. It's all energy at the end of it. So, you know, even for electric cars, a lot of it's going to be carbon-fueled electrical power for a long time to come.
Would it be safe to say in closing that it's really only innovation that can help solve all the planet's problems?
I don't want to be too technocratic about this. So if we were in the 60s, for example, with a space race on and everybody taking risks all the time, I'd be going on about other things. But right now, if you look at the numbers and you look at the feeling, the cultural atmosphere, not enough innovation. But by itself, the other factor is the human factor, right? It's us who do the innovating, and therefore the regulators, the sensation of risk, the apprehension about the future, the feeling that everything can be sold by virtual means or by a new paper regulation. We've got to get out of that mindset and understand that it's our ingenuity, along with political and social change, but our technological ingenuity, married to political and social change, can do a lot. It did a lot in the 20th century, and we had some setbacks, we recovered from the setbacks. We can do the same in this century.
Okay, thank you very much.